Democracy has been described by various scholars in different ways, but the generally acceptable one is the one which says democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And of course, if we have to go in depth into this definition, you know that it is quite loaded, and so many things have emanated from this definition. And there has been, of course, democracy. A nation that practices democracy is respected all over the world. You can't detach these from humanity as well, because democracy has to do with humanity generally and welfare of the people all over the world. And this leads us to discuss today, and that is the fallout of the United States election, lessons that have been learned from this election. And I have scholars in the studio with me today to dig deep into this topic today on your image. I want to welcome you to this special edition because we have topical issue that, of course, is discussed all over the world this week and even in previous weeks. Fallout of U.S. election on democracy. On my immediate hand right side here, I have a notable scholar, a distinguished professor, Professor Christian Ikeobi from the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Funa. You are welcome, Prof.
Good day, moderator. Thank you very much.
I also have a political scientist. He's not new on this show. He's an erudite scholar, and of course, he's a very good writer. He's a teacher of political science, and permit me to introduce to you Mr. Lekon Oketukun. You are welcome to this show.
My pleasure.
Recently, and it's still in the news, that election was held in the United States. And between the two major contenders, of course, Donald Trump of the Republican and Joe Biden of the Democrat. Two major contenders, though we have other contestants into that election. What is your general overview of this election before we go deep into this discourse? Your general assessment of that election.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My view about the election in America was that it has followed the pattern of previous elections in that country with respect to the 4-year tenure of each regime, and it has always been expected all over the world that the election would take place in America November 3, and my personal view is that the election went well, by way of summarizing what happened in America, observing also from a distance from here in Nigeria.
Thank you. You even mentioned Nigeria. Professor Ikeobi said the election went well. As a political scientist, I need your own personal assessment firstly before we dig deep into other areas of this election vis-a-vis democracy all over the world.
Well, thank you very much. The recently held American presidential election, no doubt, was something that was of major interest to the global community. It was of interest to the global community because of the role of America in world politics. Don't forget that America is a superpower, the one with the largest economy, and the one with military might that reaches very far. And so when an election is being held in America, you can be sure that it will evoke a lot of interest. And this one, as a professor said, has not been different. The major players were really out, and if you look at the turnout, it was the largest turnout in the history of American election. The eventual winner, in quotes, because it's still being contested, has about 75 million votes, while the incumbent president had about 70-point-something million votes. And if you look at the major characteristics of that election, there are certain things that came up that we are not used to here, but we'll get to that, like the issue of the mail-in ballots and things like that. All these were used, and these are things that are generating the kind of controversies that we now have now.
Yes, let me take you on again before I go back to Prof.
Yeah.
Last election, 4 years ago in the US, there were a lot of allegations and counter-allegations that there were a lot of fraud or fraudulent activities in that election that brought in the incumbent president and the outgoing president anyway. And the same allegation was thrown by the same president that was defeated. Nobody could have expected there could be an allegation of electoral fraud. And America is seen as the world power, like you said, and where we believe democracy prevails in all ramifications. So what's your take on this?
Well, the kind of controversy that we have witnessed in respect of the recently held election is not unconnected with the nature of politics itself. Politics is, especially in many parts of the world, a zero-sum game. It's a winner takes all. And if that is the case, you see a lot of brickbats being pushed into the arena. And but unfortunately, America, which we all know has perfected its own democracy, a model that the world looks up to, is now being enmeshed in the kind of controversies that you see in elections in Africa and some developing parts of the world, which is very unfortunate. But that cannot be divorced, as we discussed before we got onto the program, from the character of President Trump himself. If you look at him, everything about Trump is Trump. And if you look at his conduct from when he became president, he has brought in a kind of, how do I put it, if you like, in quote, a kind of rascality into governance. He believes only in his own views. He is a man who repudiates opinions of experts. He's a man who does not believe that anybody is wiser than him. And so, if you have that kind of character in the most powerful office in the world, as it were, then you have a big problem with democracy. And what we are witnessing is cannot be divorced from his personality.
That's a very good one. That cannot be divorced from his personality. If you're watching us, this is your image, and we're looking at a fallout of the United States election on democracy all over the world. So when we still go contemporary, and we still go to nations in Africa, and we come back to Nigeria as time goes on. Prof, he mentioned character, and if you look at that election, in political communication, a lot of things come into play. Well, let's look at his president. How does a personality affect an election? He said Trump seems to be a controversial person, and he believes so much in himself. Is this a major factor in winning an election? Your opinion, sir?
The character of a person, yes, to some extent, it contributes to the way people view that person and to the acceptance or acceptability of a candidate, during an election. But it depends also on the feelings of the people. It depends also on the social environment, the socio-political environment prevailing at a particular point in time. This guy came from business. He has been known to be a businessman,
successful
businessman. And so at the time he was dying in 2016, people he had no political experience for people to use to accept, or to assess his capability to be the president of America. And at that point in time also, there were other factors that came in, and they went for him, of course, and they chose him because they felt that he could bring his success in business to bear upon running the government of America. But then also, to some extent, the character of a person in contesting for an office can also have a negative side to it. If you look at the other person that contested for presidency, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most experienced leading politicians in America as of today. He was elected to the Senate of the U.S. at the age of, in his 20s. He had about 36 years of experience as a senator, and then 8 years of experience as a vice president, and then 4 years he was outside government, and then he now ran for. So this person has run for presidency. This is third time. He ran in 1988. He ran in 2008, and then when he was not chosen by the Democratic Party, Obama, that won the party slot, beckoned on him to come and be his vice presidential running mate. And then this person, so when you talk about Joe Biden knows that politics is you win some, you lose some. And so each time he lost, he went back and packaged himself and prepared for another time. And this time around, he came, the third time, in running for this exalted office. He won, or he has been projected by the news media to have won. This other person in business, is seen as a ruthless person, Donald Trump. Unyielding, unbending, he has always been, you either win it or you bust it. And that has been his experience. That has been his antecedents. And then he came in, and of course, he won last time, 2016, and like my colleague said, a lot of things went into that, proving that the election was a 100% perfect election. There were issues. There were allegations of Russian involvement in terms of helping him to project him to the base, to the political, to the voters in America. But his contestant at that time, Hillary Clinton, accepted, conceded, in spite of the side comments about external involvement. America as a nation is known to be bigger than an individual's aspirations. And that is the cardinal issue in politics, that the interest of a nation is much, much bigger than the interest of an individual. So that's why I agree with my colleague that the character of an individual has a lot to say, has a bearing on this, what we are seeing now being played out in America, especially with respect to the incumbent who has been seen to have lost the election, at least as far as we are concerned today. He lost that election until the court say otherwise.
All right. You can join the conversation via the number that will be displayed on your television screen, and it's still your image. And we're looking at a fallout of the United States election on democracy. Mr. Okechukwu, you mentioned something there I want to make reference back to, and that's the personality of Joe Biden, whom he said has been at the corridor of power for many years. At different times at the Senate, he has contested 2-3 times, he lost, and eventually he won.
Yes.
Let's bring this development back to Africa and Nigeria in particular. If it were to be here, we would have been castigating this particular person. Now, what else does he want? He started early and he still wants to be there. What is your view of this? Let's compare and contrast now.
Well, unfortunately, the environments are different. The American political environment is quite different from what we have here. In Africa, and let's bring it down to Nigeria, a lot of primordial sentiments come into issues. Who is he? Is he Yoruba? Is he Hausa? Is he a Christian?
Tribal politics?
All those primordial sentiments are brought to bear on the way we perceive events, political events in Nigeria. So if Joe Biden was a Nigerian, he wouldn't have survived that long because of all those things that I alluded to. But fortunately, he is not a Nigerian, he's an American. And America, being the cradle of democracy, is an achieving society. Whatever you lay your hands on in America if you are dutiful at it, definitely you come out tops. And that's why even in that election, you could see that even some Nigerians won elections.
Yes.
If it were in Nigeria, if you were from Oyo State and you are contesting election in Ogun State, you want to contest election in Ogun State, some people will begin to tell you stories that where are you from? Are you from this area and things like that. But here is a country where that absorbs everybody. It's a multi-ethnic place where the kind of ethnic rivalry, political rivalry and things like that is not that looks at brinksmanship, that oppose brinksmanship as we do here.
Hello? Please turn down the volume on your television set. Hello? Please move away from your TV set.
Hello?
Hello, good evening. We can hear you clearly.
My name is Faith.
And where is Faith calling from?
I'm calling from Obakupu.
So what's the contribution? This is your image. We're talking about American election, lessons for democracy.
Now, about the America and the US election, it's like the election is not free and fair.
You can hear you. Go ahead.
And then if you look at it, the Trump supposed to be the winner of the election, but unfortunately, because of the US Electoral Commission, they were able to favor the opponent of Trump. And then to me, I feel that the election is clear and clear.
Were you part of the observers? Were you part of the observers over there? Oh, we lost. I think he made his point. Yeah, he said the election was not fair and fair. That was his opinion. Anyway, at least you have right to your opinion.
Yes, he has a right to his opinion, but nobody has, except Donald Trump himself, has called that election, has faulted the process of that election. And I think being a supporter of Trump, the way he has spoken, I don't expect him to say otherwise. The election was very close. And
let's see if we can make this call. Hello?
Okay.
Hello, good evening. Hello?
So as I was saying, it was a close election. In spite of the shenanigans, in spite of the personality traits that we observed in Donald Trump, he still has, he had his own support base, yes, which is quite tremendous, and that is not that cannot be diverted.
Hello. Hello. You're on your image. Hello. Oh, seems we lost that call.
So as I was saying, that cannot be the kind of support base that Donald Trump has cannot be diverted from his personality. He's a man who you cannot ignore at any particular point in time. I think he in spite of his foibles, he brought some kind of rambunctious posture to the American political system, and everybody, his slogan of America First and making America great again struck a chord in some Americans, in majority of American people, and they loved him with passion. Those who loved him with a passion, and those who hate him also hate him with passion. The same passion. Hello, is that
hello? Hello? Okay, let me, you said something and I want you to react to it. I'm still talking about lessons to be learned from that democracy in the US. You mentioned some Nigerians who want seats at their parliament there. This is a major lesson for us to learn in Nigeria, particularly. How do we get to this level in Africa, in Nigeria? Our politicians are now celebrating them that they are ours. So
it's not only in US, even in UK, Nigerians have been known to win elections into the UK Parliament.
Yes.
In Italy, a Nigerian won election in Italy.
Yeah.
And now in the US, Nigerians are winning election. And let me also say this. There are many people, you know, from Nigeria in US. Yes. There are many Nigerians, many professionals.
Yes.
In fact, it's been known that when you talk about medical doctors in US, a great number of well-qualified medical doctors practicing in US
Let's take it.
are Nigerians.
Hello? Okay, please continue.
So these are people that have been known to be contributing meaningfully and positively to the society. So when it comes to, you know, the communities in which they live, especially if they've been there for several years, they are known, they are recognized, they are known to have been contributing meaningfully to the society, to the community. And that is what representation is all about. That is what the democracy is all about. Is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. What is the impact you are going to bear upon the people? What is your representation going to, how is it going to impact upon the people? What are the policies you are taking, you are going to, bring out that will be to the benefit of the people? That's what politics is all about. It should be all about. And that's what democracy in the real sense of it is all about. So I'm not surprised that Nigerians won election in America, because that system recognizes, just like my friend was saying, recognizes the values of the individual. There are no primordial sentiments about where you come from, or where there are issues of racism anyway. Okay. But in terms of what you're able to do, you don't just come from nowhere and jump in and people say you want to. They must have assessed you. They must have reckoned with you over the years and seen that you're able to, you have something to offer the people. So that's why they won the election there.
Hello? 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 Yeah. Your name and where are you calling from? What is your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, we missed that. A lot of calls are coming in. Hello? Hello? Okay, let me ask this before, because... Hello? Hello? Yeah, what's your name? Where are you calling from? From where? We missed that call. Out of call. All right, let's just... in a few words, because we still go contemporary in our subsequent edition, maybe we'll continue with this next week. But let me ask this question. Because some governors have been congratulating these Americans, Nigerian-born Americans over there. And some people have been castigating them for this development. Don't they have right to do that? Because they're Nigerians. Because we want to learn a lot of lessons from that democracy.
Oh, well, everybody loves success. And that some Nigerian governors have been congratulating Nigerians who won elections in US is not unexpected. I don't begrudge them. It's something they have to do. Just like when Anthony Joshua won the world heavyweight champion, he was applauded here in Ogun State. And but what Nigerians are saying is that what has been, if those people were in Nigeria, would they have been allowed to even be aspirants, to have the opportunity of contesting? So what they are saying is an indictment on the Nigerian political system, which does not give ample opportunities to people like that who have won elections in Nigeria, who are here. So that's just my take.
Okay, before we round off, a quick one from you on democracy. Where are we going? What are those major lessons that you think our government in Africa, not in Nigeria per se, to learn from that democracy?
Well, we have a lot to learn in the recently held American election. First, you discover that in that election there was no case of closing of borders. There were no cases of closing of airways. You understand me? The airspace. You do not have the security people rolling down the streets and breathing down the neck of everybody. and so on and so forth. So these are some of the lessons we can take away. Then there was the deployment of technology in that election.
Okay, Professor Kirby, your takeaway for this session?
Just let me just say this, that the system they are running there is a system that has been tried and tested over the years, and this system has never failed them. For example, contrary to what one of our callers said that the National Electoral Commission messed up in America, we need to know that in the United States of America, there are people that are charged with conducting elections in each state. Each state, the presidential elections were held and organized by each of the states in the country, and they had the responsibility. And you had situations where a state that had been run by the Republicans organized the election in their state, and Biden won. And there are some others also that have been run by Democrats that maybe Trump also won. And yet, for example, Georgia is being run by a Republican governor, the state of Georgia. And it's now clear that Joe Biden is leading in Georgia.
Okay, I think we will continue next.
So we need to understand that these are things we can carry to Nigeria and see that, look, it does not matter who's, the elections need to be organized in a free and fair manner.
Okay, the conversation will continue next week. Thank you very much, Prof. We want to thank you, Prof. Professor Christian Ikeobi from the Federal University of Agriculture. I beg to thank you very much for being part of this show.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Leko Ketuku, a political scientist, thank you so much. We'll continue the conversation next week. Democracy, they say, is the best form of governance, and every country that practices generally develops. And this is why we draw the curtains of this week's edition of Your Image. Next week on the same topic, same station. God bless Nigeria.
you.